Please make sure to subscribe and hit this bell icon and say all and save. And that's all you need so you don't miss my pretty face. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, after a long time, my Jai Guru is back. Please help him. Well, please help me welcome Mark Boney, who is, just kicking ass out there. Just he's all over the place, all over the world, publishing books, which we'll talk about at the end. I mean, I love it when you come here.
Thanks, Kapiel, and I always appreciate coming on your show. I appreciate the invitation. It's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, yes. Although I see you in my Gemini courses in the videos, sure. But yeah, sure. Long time with this one-on-one interaction. So yeah, my actually request for you a couple of days back was to share with us, understanding Yogini Dasha.
Okay.
And
which I'm pleased to do. I started studying with Kapiel Raaj when he first came to the U.S. As a guest speaker at the second International Symposium on Vedic Astrology organized by David Frawley. And actually at that, conference, he taught Yogini Dasha there for the first time, and I was a part of that. So, you asked me, do I use this Dasha? And the thing is, I've been using it back from 1993. Let me just also kind of introduce the topic in a funny sort of way. And I was in Russia teaching about, I think it was 2014, and one woman raised her hand and said, Mark, will you teach us Yogini Dasha? And my response was, I'll be happy to teach you Yogini Dasha, but you'll be surprised to know that, or she wanted to know how to use Yogini Dasha. And I said, you'll be surprised to know that I've already been teaching you how to use Yogini Dasha because you use it in the exact same way as you use any other planetary dasha, meaning you use it in the same way you use Vimshotri dasha, right? As I will go on to explain. But, as you know, Kapiel Raaj taught me and his other students that you can increase your predictive ability and your predictive accuracy by using more than one dasha, right? Yeah. So you've heard me refer to what he called the composite technique. And it's particularly powerful, as you know, when you're looking at a particular timing of an event, first from a planetary dasha point of view, say Vimshotri, but then you can cross-check that in a Jaimini dasha, like Chara dasha. And if the two dashas are showing a similar event at the same time, then you can feel more assured that you're really seeing something truly, right? Yeah. So actually, when I first studied with him, what he was advocating was when you're doing that, you're using three dashas, Vimshotri and Yogini, planetary dashas, and then Chara for the Jaimini dasha. And then again, if all three sort of point in the same direction to a certain time period as relates to a particular event, like marriage, like childbirth, like career rise, and the transits additionally support, then you're feeling confident that you're seeing something. And this is, if I've had some predictive success, it's because I've applied this methodology, right?
There was the reason why I think I wanted to know personally, because, Yogini Dasha has a tendency of repeating itself quite quickly.
Okay.
How will it give the same results? And
excellent question. Why don't you give me a moment here? Let me pull up a document. Okay?
Sure.
That I think will facilitate our discussion.
Okay.
So, where do we find Yogini Dasha? Like so many dashas, we find it in Parashara Hora. And, there are 8 yoginis, and each of them are related to 8 of the grahas. Ketu's not included here. Okay? And you've probably seen this. Each have their individual name, Sanskrit name. It's not really critical and important at all to use Yogini Dasha to remember the Sanskrit names. But you need to see which planet each pertains to. And you can see here that they follow in a regular sequence, just like the Vimshotri Dasha, but they're much briefer in years, such that the total cycle is 36 years, right? So the question then becomes, well, what if someone has passed 36 years? Or what if someone has passed 72 years? And, when I studied with Kapiel Raaj, and when he introduced this dasha and taught me to use it, essentially his answer is that the cycle repeats But of course, what a particular period and sub-period is going to mean at a particular time in life is going to change. In other words, if you're running, a dasha that could show the potential for marriage at age 26, well, then it's probably likely to mean that, right? But if you're running a similar period and sub-period when you're 85, it's not likely to mean that you're going to marry, although that's not beyond the realm of possibility. So, again, he would have you repeat the cycle. And then that's how that question was dealt with. Now, have you come across the fact that there's something called the progressed Yogini Dasha? Have you been exposed to that idea?
Yes, I've heard about it. Yes, that's why actually one of my, that was going to be one of my questions too.
Okay. So, you'll see one of Kapiel Raaj's faculty members at his school in Delhi, I forget which one exactly, he has come out of a book, I think also under his guidance, right, which gives something called the progressed Yogini Dasha, that then the cycle wouldn't necessarily just be exactly repeating after 36 years. In other words, it would have a more individualized and unique aspect of it. I'll be candid and express to you that I looked at the book. I made something of a study of it myself. I didn't end up pursuing the idea, quite frankly, because the Yogini Dasha, just as I'm going to show it to you here, has actually served me very well. Not as a primary predictive tool, but as what I would call a secondary predictive tool where I'm cross-checking indications that I'm seeing, say, in Vimshotri and or Chara. But I apply it extensively, especially when asked to kind of be looking at a specific event. As I said, like childbirth, like marriage, like career rise, like purchase of property, vehicle, things like that. And, what people should understand about it here without getting too technical is that it's another nakshatra-based dasha, just like Vimshotri, meaning that, how it begins and how it's calculated is determined by the nakshatra that the moon is in at birth. Okay? Each of the nakshatras are correlated to one of these 8 yoginis. Okay? And so, for example, my moon in my chart is in the nakshatra of Uttara Falguni, ruled by Venus, as you know, in the Vimshotri system. But in the system, it's correlated to what's called Oka, the Yogini Oka, which, as you can see here, is ruled by Saturn. And the nakshatra runs from like 1320 to 2640. My moon's at 25 Leo, so I was born in the Yogini system at the very end of Uka, or the Saturn period. And actually just after 4 months, moved in what would be the following period to Saturn's, which in this case would be Venus, which then ran for 7 years. And again, the dasha then unfolds based on where you start, based on the position of your moon. And then, the sub-periods are very much like the Vimshotri Dasha in the sense that the first sub-period is always the sub-period of the ruling planet itself. So in other words, if you're running Siddha, or the Venus period, the first sub-period is going to be Venus-Venus. And it's going to be proportional to the length of the major period. Is that too technical? Do you understand?
No, it's very simple. One of the things that I wanted to know is the how Vimshotri Dasha is like known as a king of Dasha. Then you have Ashtotri Dasha, you have Shulya Dasha for health or misfortunes. Is there a specific reason for Yogini, or is it also known as like overall Dasha like a Vimshotri?
What you're talking about is you've got, in the Vedic tradition, you've got in the Jyotish tradition, you've got all-purpose dashas, meaning dashas that can be used on every chart to predict every type of event.
Yeah.
And then you've got specific dashas that are aimed at predicting specific events.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got dashas that are only applicable to certain charts.
Certain charts, yeah. Like
there's conditional dashas. Conditional dashas based on a specific patterning in a chart.
Yeah.
Right? Dvi Satasari Sama Dasha, where the Lord of the first has to be in the 7th, or vice versa. You might be familiar with that, right?
Yes.
That's an example of a conditional dasha, or a dasha used to predict a specific event. Jyotish, as you know, has ayus dashas that are said to be used specifically just to determine longevity, determine ayus. Right? But, to answer your question, Yogini, when Kapiel Raaj presented it to me, and the way I've used it is that an all-purpose dasha that can be applied to any birth chart.
Okay.
Now, having said that, and I have no astrological logic with which to support this, for some reason it seems to time the event of relationship and marriage very well in my experience. Very, very well. And I've seen this over and over. And, thinking about, since you wanted to talk about Yogini Dasha and do I use it and how that I've used it, I thought it might be interesting for the audience just to show people how I've used it, right? And so does that appeal to you?
Yes.
And I want to start off by showing a chart of a woman who attended a presentation on Jyotish that I did back in, I think, 97, something like that, at DiCaprio Center in La Jolla. And turned out she was a very well-known and respected psychiatrist in the area, real strong medical training background, had gone to Johns Hopkins University. So she was very much a scientist, right? But kind of my presentation had intrigued her, and she sought me out for a consultation. And I knew that a part of that, she just kind of wanted to test Jyotish a little bit, right? To see. And Kapiel Raaj, you may be aware that when he did consultations, he would start out by tracing events in a person's background, in a person's life. He would ask questions, did you get a promotion during this time? Things like that.
Okay.
So when this woman came for me for a consultation, I took that approach. And one of the things I said to her is that I asked her if in October of 1979, did she marry? And her eyes kind of widened, and she said, well, no, I didn't marry at that time, but that is the time when I met my husband, when we first became a couple and started living in a marriage-like situation. Right? So I want to show the audience, using the composite technique.
How old was she when in 79?
Well, she would have been in her mid-20s.
Mid-20s, okay.
Now, remember, I'm talking to her in like 97.
Oh, okay. So, all right, got it.
So what I'm doing is I'm doing the Kapiel Raaj approach of identifying some periods in the past, right?
Yeah.
Ask her about that. If I'm accurate about these, I know that it's going to establish credibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so, I identified these periods. In Vimshotri, during October of 1979, she was running Sun Mars. Okay? So you can see that the Sun's in the first house in the Rashi, aspecting onto the seventh house. And of course, Mars is the seventh Lord. And if you see her Navamsha, you'll see that Mars is the seventh Lord in the seventh house.
Yeah.
But then I saw that this period, October of 1979, overlapped in Yogini with Mars. You see? And again, Mars is the seventh Lord, and it's the seventh Lord in the seventh house in Navamsha. Then, applying a third dasha, Chara dasha, I saw that she was running Sagittarius Leo in that same time frame.
Okay.
So if you look at Sagittarius, you'll see that it's ruled by Jupiter, who is her Darakaraka, and Leo itself has the Darakaraka.
Yeah.
So, the analogy that I've used with my students about this is that, you think about a Las Vegas slot machine, and, when you hit the jackpot, all the symbols come up, right?
Yeah.
And this is what, Kapiel Raaj calls the composite technique, and this is exactly the way in which I've used these dashas, Yogini being one of them. So now that's an example of seeing something that had happened in a person's past, right? Let me just quickly show you another instance where I based a prediction on this. This woman had come to me for a consultation, I think it was around 1999, 2000, something like that. She had been married and divorced. She was now in her mid-50s, and she wondered if she would ever marry again. Now, as you know, sometimes when a person approaches you for a consultation, you get lucky.
Yeah.
And in this case, I got lucky because, wouldn't you know it, the period that she was running was Mercury-Jupiter.
Oh, okay.
So, Mercury is the seventh Lord in the seventh house, and Jupiter's in the Ladni here. They're in a mutual glance from each other. They're 1/7 of each other. So, you could hardly identify a period that was more ripe for bringing a relationship into her life.
It's funny, though, the same period, and both planets can also cause divorce.
Well, they could. let's hold that thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at it from a Gemini
No,
perspective.
let's hold that thought because we're trying to get her married, not divorced in this case.
Yeah.
So, obviously Vimshotri, but I would never just rely on this, all right? So again, next what I'm doing, I'm looking at Yogini. And I'm seeing that in the same time period, she's going to be running Saturn Moon. So I'm showing you the Navamsha here.
Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
What do you see? You got Saturn Moon sitting in the period and sub-period of two planets in the 7th house of her Navamsha. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting lucky here. But I'm not leaving it at that. I'm going to then look at the same time period with these two other dashas overlapping in Chara with Aries Sagittarius. Now, who's her Darakaraka here?
Is Jupiter.
Jupiter. So and where is it in Navamsha?
It's in the 9th house.
Which sign?
Aries.
And which sign is it in her Rashi?
It's in Sagittarius.
And I saw the period was going to be Aries Sagittarius.
Sagittarius, yeah.
Right? So, this is one of the easiest predictions of marriage I ever made.
Wow.
In the sense that it was really very, very clear the way in which these three periods lined up. And then, of course, it's not this Dasha. Transits have to be supportive too, right? And, they were. I don't remember exactly where Saturn and Jupiter was. I use that double, principle, Saturn and Jupiter influencing 7th house, 7th lord from the birth lagna or the moon to support marriage. But let me just quickly show you another.
Also, in the previous chart, did she get a divorce at 31? 30 or 31?
When you say the previous chart, you mean this chart?
This chart, yeah.
I don't know, but I'm curious, of course, as to why you asked.
Oh, because I was looking at the Navamsha combinations, and I'm using this one method to see the divorce timing without using dashas. Just the age of the house. Yeah.
One thing I did do is, again, I try to establish a credibility with clients by identifying periods in the past, and just also as a way of checking on the accuracy of Navamsha Lagna. She was running Mercury-Jupiter when she met me, but of course, way back when, she would have at one point run Saturn-Mercury, major period of Saturn.
Yeah. So was she an author and writer?
She did or related that kind of work, but just to finish that point here, she acknowledged, I gave her the time frame of Saturn Mercury, and she acknowledged that she married. Her first marriage took place in that period and sub-period.
Okay.
So that confirms for me, or it helps confirm that the Navamsha Lagna is correct, something that I want to be aware of. I'm going to start timing marriage. You asked about the authorship again because
from Karakamsha Lagna.
You've gotten that one down, don't you?
I've got. I always look at Karakamsha. I can't do a horoscope reading without Kapiel.
Well, actually, it makes me feel good to hear that.
It's an automatic reaction now.
It's obviously something that I do as well.
Yeah.
So this was a while ago. I have another example here of one of the more recent, a much more recent example of predicting marriage using Yogini Dasha as a part of that analysis. So this is the chart of a woman who participated in a satsanga that I have at my house on Thursday nights for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And she was in her mid-50s. She had been married. She had been divorced. You see here the 7th Lord in the 8th. Okay. But in the same question, will I actually ever marry again? And, you've heard about Venus Rahu and Rahu Venus periods, right?
Yes.
And
actually, you're the one who taught us that. And I think it was Essentials of Gemini. That's what you were discussing last year when I did my...
Right. That's a Vimshotri thing, but K and Rao taught me very early on the way in which that period, sub-period, he called it a Yogaj combination. I wrote an article about this, can very often bring a very fated love affair, potentially leading to marriage into a person's life. There's all kinds of examples. Angelina Jolie got together with Brad Pitt during such a period. Obama met his wife and got involved during that period. I have actually probably collected over 100 examples.
Wow.
But one of the first things I noticed when she asked me this question about, would she marry? And if so, when might that happen? I noticed that coming up, in Yogini, she was going to be running the period of Venus Rahu, right? And then I saw that it was going to overlap with when she was running Sun Ketu and this was, within the last few years when she was going to be running Sun Ketu. Now, the way in which Sun Ketu in the Rashi shows the potential for this sort of thing is that they're 1/7 from each other. In other words, if you use Dasha Lagna, which I always do, and see the period and sub-period, the Sun Ketu then are 1/7 from each other. And she was running this period of Venus Rahu. And then I saw that she was going to, again, be running the period in Charadasha of Leo Sagittarius. Now, see the Jupiter again here is the dark Karaka, right?
Yeah.
And Leo here gets the aspect
of the Dharakaka and Navamsha.
Here. And it also contains Venus.
And Venus aspects Ketu too, so actually gives strength to Ketu too.
It does, but from the Jyotish point of view, she was running Leo, which contained the natural indicator Venus, gets the aspect of the dark Karaka Navamsha, and then she was going to come up to the sub-period of Sagittarius containing the DK. So the overlap was going to be Sun Ketu and Venus Moon and Leo Sagittarius. Now, what do you notice about Venus Moon in Navamsha?
Venus, Moon, Rahu are all together in the sign of Libra.
Right.
And they're 7th from the Dharakaka too.
So she showed up at the satsanga one night and said, hey, and this was in Venus, Rahu, and Yogini. She says, hey, I've met some guy, Mark, do you think I will marry? And so I was looking at Sun Ketu. I was looking at the following period in Yogini, which was Venus Moon, period and sub-period of 2 planets together in Navamsha, and then going into this Leo Sagittarius period. Now add transits. She was running a period of time when Jupiter was in Virgo. Okay? So from Virgo, Jupiter, Parashari aspect onto her 7th Lord Mars.
Okay.
And then Saturn was in Scorpio.
Looking at Mars as well, yeah.
So we had the double influence of Saturn and Jupiter blessing this kind of thing by making an aspect onto Mars. So I predicted, it was in front of a group of people. I predicted that this relationship could potentially lead to marriage. Long story short, it did. And she even asked me to officiate at the wedding.
Wow, look at that.
So these are, I wanted to get, you wanted me to talk about Yogini Dasha, and really, as far as saying, other than that, how it's arrived at, which is, you have these 8 Yoginis. Each of them are connected to a nakshatra. Someone's born with their moon in some nakshatra. That's where the cycle starts. It unfolds like that in this progression, with each of these periods equating to a certain number of years. Now, one thing that K.R. Rao liked about Yogini Dasha is that the periods were shorter, and therefore for pinpointing the timing of events, you can run period and sub-period in Shotri, and it can be 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm running my Saturn-Venus period, and it's 3 years long, so that's not very pinpoint timing. You have to use the sub-period. But say, for example, the moon period here, it's only even 1 year.
Yeah.
I've made, I can't pull up the example just off the top of my head, but I've made a prediction once just on the basis of the fact that year, the person was going to be in their moon period, and I could see the moon bringing that event in connection with other dashas again, always the composite approach.
And this is the chronological order. So after Mars, Mercury will start, and after Mercury, Saturn will start.
That's correct.
Okay.
And now all the good astrological software give this calculator, or should give this Yogini Dasha, but they don't identify it according to the name of the Yogini. They just identify it according to the planet that's ruling, right?
Okay. And you can do this for like promotions and career changes.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because, I was trying to think, well, when's the last time, or when's a recent time where I used Yogini Dasha to time something other than marriage?
Yeah.
And students of mine who are part of a closed Facebook group will attest to the fact that prior to the 2016 Academy Awards, I'd come out quite a bit beforehand, indicating that this time I thought Leonardo DiCaprio would finally win. He was up for the Best Actor award for The Revenant, right?
Okay.
His performance in The Revenant. And so let me change screens again here. And tell me now if you're seeing the chart of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Not yet.
Not yet. What's wrong then? Okay, let me try that again. How about now?
Yes, now we can.
Okay, so it's the chart of Leonardo DiCaprio here, as you can see. So actually what KRSchannel taught me to do is when I'm really zeroing in on trying to analyze a certain time period as it relates to a specific event, use 4 dashas. Now, to beginners,
Oh, man.
to beginners out there, this sounds overwhelming. I understand this, but I think, some more advanced students will understand it's really not that much of a problem. And the 4 that I use is Vimshotri and Yogini as far as planetary dashas, and then Chara, and my favorite, Padanavamsha Dasha,
Oh, yeah.
in the Chara Dasha sign basis, or the sign-based Jaimini Dashas, right? So I applied this in the case of Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, this presentation is not on Jaimini, so I'm not going to go into the 2 Jaimini Dashas and the timing that way. But what I saw, the award ceremony was February 29, 2016.
Okay.
So you'll see here, I've got the Vimshotri Dasha and the Yogini Dasha side by side. And of course, I've got the Dashamsha in both the South Indian and North Indian style, because actually the basis of my prediction from the Parashvi point of view was quite a bit based on the Vamsha, based on Dashamsha, okay? The career chart, the professional achievement chart.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw that he was running Jupiter, Rahu, Venus. Okay? Jupiter, Rahu, Venus. Now, I'm going to do something here to help us all. I want everyone and you to see the chart from Dasha Lagna, birth chart from Dasha Lagna. So let me change the stream here. You see it now using Jupiter, the Mahadasha Lord, as if it was there. Now think about Jupiter, Rahu, Venus.
In angles in Kendra, especially 10th house. Yeah.
Rahu goes to the 10th, giving the results of Mars, who from this perspective is with Venus, with all these planets in the 9th house, forming how many multiple angle trine combinations?
Easily.
Including the 9-10 Raja Yoga in the 9th house.
Yeah.
And of course, you see Jupiter here, what's its source of strength? It's Vargotama. Venus, of course, the sub period is in its own sign. Rahu giving the results of Mars, right? And so it looks very strong, but then see the Shamsha, CD10, where you've got a Sambandha between Jupiter and Rahu. Rahu's in Jupiter's sign, aspected by Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Venus there. Think of the sequence again. Jupiter, Rahu, Venus.
Yeah.
Placed along the 5-11 axis. Okay. So I saw this and I said, wow, this looks pretty powerful. Right? But the next thing I did was I looked at the Yogini. And interestingly enough, the same time period was Jupiter, Venus, Rahu.
Oh, so Jupiter, Rahu is Jupiter, Venus, Rahu. Oh, wow. Okay.
Instead of Jupiter, Rahu, Venus, now it's Jupiter, Venus, Rahu. Right?
Yeah.
So I said, that's real confluence.
Yeah.
And then I looked at it. Actually, it was on basis on Padanavamsha Dasha more than anything else that I was absolutely convinced that he was the winner this time. Transits were supportive, as before.
Yeah.
And so, I spelled all this out to, the students in that closed Facebook group that are part of my article subscription program. And I ended up saying, I believe he wins it this time. And of course, it proved correct. But again, what I'm attempting to show here is how I was taught by K.N. Rao to use the Yogini Dasha and do it with regards to what he referred to as the composite technique.
Mm-hmm.
And really, that's the long and the short of it, Kapiel.
Yeah, no, this is...
as far as as far as how I use it. And but again, I just want to reiterate that for some reason, I don't have any logical explanation for it. It seems to be particularly good at timing the relationship and marriage. You might want to, after this presentation, just go back and check and see how it timed or didn't time.
Yeah.
When that happened for yourself. Right?
Absolutely.
You know, some students have asked me, well, do they always have to perfectly line up before you're prepared to make a prediction? My answer is no, not always, but I feel more confident,
Yeah.
you know, if that's the case. And, you know, if Vimshotri and Char are both showing it very strongly and Yogini doesn't, well, you know, I might still be inclined to, you know, predict, but I like it better, as in the cases that I've shown you here, when there's that Las Vegas slot machine experience.
Exactly. No, that just made sense. It's like a triangle just showing that enclosed prediction.
You know, KRSchannel presented cases that I saw where he used, you know, he made some, you know, amazing predictions with regards to politicians' charts, as you know. Indira Gandhi being one of them. One of the predictions that he made, not overtly, because it could have got him in trouble, because he was still a civil servant at the time, is that the potential fall of Indira Gandhi, right? And he showed me once the way in which he used 5 dashas, right, plus Ashtaka Varga, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he got it within 2 days.
Wow.
Got it within 2 days. So, you know, it was impressive to me. And, you know, when I met KRSchannel, and, you know, I was astonished by the way he predicted. Of course, you know, like any student of Jyotish, I wanted to know, well, could I learn to do that as well? And I've never been able to do it the way he does it, you know, and I never will. But by adapting his methods, as I've attempted to show on your program before, I have had some good predictive success. And I owe it all to him, actually, the way I feel about it.
I see. Now you also have books coming out. I want to know about.
Well, thank you for asking. They've actually come out. You know, over the last, I decided, and some people weren't happy with me about this, I decided starting in January 2016, I wasn't going to consult anymore. I was just going to focus on teaching and writing. Because I felt that I really, you know, part of my mission in life now was to carry on KRSchannel's legacy, and I felt that I could best do that.
Yeah.
I focused on writing and teaching. And so, as you know, I've written articles every month for a period of years. So since January 1, I've published 6 volumes of my collected articles.
Wait, can you get out of the full screen so we can see the book clearly? Or the share screen?
Good idea.
Okay.
So there's 6 volumes, all of which are entitled Golden Keys to Jyotish, okay? And you can see they're my collected articles.
Okay.
Each of them are in both print and Kindle electronic version on Amazon. They're all anywhere from 250 to 300 pages. They contain articles anywhere from 5 to 8 articles. Right?
Wow.
And so there's six volumes of these that have come out. But actually, you know, the volumes that I'm most proud of is I've published a 2-volume set called Jyotish for Beginners.
Okay.
Subtitled How to Interpret a Birth Chart. You know, KRSchannel, and these again are available on Amazon, 2-volume set. You know, KRSchannel had a certain approach to teaching beginners that I thought was particularly effective. Right? So what I've tried to do is take that approach and incorporate that into these 2 books. They're not pure textbooks like Hart Defoe's, you know, Light on Life, Introduction to Astrology, which I think is marvelous. Right. And I recommend this book. But what I was trying to do with these books is, you know, have all the basics and fundamentals of Jyotish there, but by the time a person was done absorbing them, they could really make a very good interpretation of a birth chart just after, you know, absorbing the content of the volumes. Mm-hmm. That was my goal, right? Whether I've accomplished that or not, people can tell me.
No, so everybody, I think they need to, go get that book, absolutely.
So those are 2 books, but actually, just recently now I've published another 2-volume set, and this is, I don't know if you can see it there, it's called Graha Yoga Deepika, which means light on planetary combinations.
And I think I emailed you just a month ago, hey, can you talk about yogas, or do you have a class on yoga? So There you go.
Well,
That's my book.
I did a year-long program on yogas in which I wrote quite a bit of material, and then I took that material and I put it in this 2-volume set. It covers all the main graha yogas that are given in Paladipika and Parashara. I'd like to think, there's a lot of books on yogas, many of them very good, Dr. Charik's book. What I tried to do differently here, and which not is often brought out in books on yogas, is that not just identifying the yoga, because, programs these days will identify a lot of the yoga. But, the real problem or the real skill, the real difficulty is to what's called qualify the yoga. I mean, how do I determine what level of fruit this yoga is going to give? Is it going to give any fruit at all? Will that fruit be blemished fruit? In other words, will it be bitter with the sweet or not? How do you determine all that? And then the different variations of that. So, if you saw these books, and by the way, you're going to get a complimentary copy of all of these.
Oh, I was just about to go on Amazon after this.
You don't need to do that. I'm going to send you complimentary copies. I thought about that a long time ago. And I'd like to think the strength of the book is in all the illustrations and how it shows how to qualify the yoga. Right? So that's 2 more books. And then just tomorrow, this book will go up on Amazon. It's called Secrets of the Dashamsha.
Woo! Man, you're pulling tricks out of your magic bag today. Wow, how many books you wrote?
I've worked with the Dashamsha probably more than any other division other than Navamsha, right?
Yeah.
And I share my researches about how the Dashamsha can be used to identify peak periods in a person's professional life, right? Because we get a lot of questions, as you know, about career, and often a lot of questions about career. So this book is being published tomorrow. And then I did a commentary with illustration on the Lagu Parashari that will be coming out in the end of April. Right?
Okay.
So by the end of April, I hope to have published 12 books this year.
Wow, you have been busy for the past couple of, no wonder, okay.
I have been busy. I was able to do this because all this was written before this year, right?
Because you were just writing continuously.
I was writing continuously, and fortunately, I got a donation from a student that allowed me to hire another person who could then shape these all up into books.
Okay.
Which I'm very grateful for, because I wouldn't have been able to publish them all so quickly here if I'd not gotten that support.
Right.
So I feel very blessed about that, and again, I just want to reiterate that I always describe myself as a pale imitation of KRSchannel.
You are. You definitely are.
But even a pale imitation of KRSchannel, I say, makes an indelible impression. And what I've tried to do is take what he's taught me here, and also some things I learned on my own, just through experience, right? And incorporate them in hopefully a clear and understandable way that people can learn them and adopt these methods and see if they could work for them, right? So I appreciate your ability to let me sort of publicize that I've had these.
Absolutely, anytime. Absolutely, I love that. No, thank you so much for giving such valuable information in return too.
Well, I hope so. That's always my intention, to bring value. Okay.
Yes. No, thank you so much, Mark Boney, sir. And we'll be bringing you on more and more. And I'm just excited for my Gemini courses that I'm with you right now with. So
good. And one more thing I need to ask of you. You need to send me your mailing address so I can send you the books.
Okay, no, I will send it to you right away. Within 30 seconds now, you'll receive that.
Okay, very good. Good seeing you, and thanks again
you,
for
sir.
having me. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.